Lukáš Dostál has officially taken over the net in Anaheim. And we've got Tristan Luneau, who's going to find himself in the NHL full-time next season. That and more on this episode of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome, everydayer. Thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Kyle Kjer, and I'm a lifelong Anaheim Ducks fan, and I've spent multiple years covering collegiate sports, including college hockey. But we are talking about the Anaheim Ducks today. I'm going to give you the ins and outs of how Lukáš Dostál has taken over the net in Anaheim. But before that, I'm going to get into how John Gibson was this year and the kind of liability he ended up becoming. And then first, to start things off, though, I need to talk about this battle of the young defense that's going to be coming up between Tristan Luneau, Ian Moore, and Stijn Solberg. I'm mainly going to be focusing on the Tristan Luneau and Ian Moore debacle, as they're the ones who actually stepped foot in an Anaheim sweater in the NHL this year. Stijn Solberg, though, had immediately popped off in the AHL with San Diego and has been lighting it up in the IIHF Worlds right now. He was actually the first player to get a hat trick in the tournament against Team USA, so against Cutter Gauthier and Jackson Lacombe. So a little battle there between the Ducks, but it's been quite fun watching the Worlds out there. But we're really going to focus on Tristan Luneau and Ian Moore. And I really do think that Tristan Luneau is going to be the one who comes out getting the more bona fide spot next year in the lineup. Granted, it does kind of depend on how things go with Drew Helleson. I think Lacombe and Zellweger and Minchikov, those guys are secured in that lineup. And then we got Jacob Trouba and Radko Gudas. Those guys are going to be solid next year. But Drew Helleson's kind of one of the ones that's teetering in and out. And depending on how healthy Gudas is, it leaves that space for either Tristan Luneau or Ian Moore. And granted, the way they play is going to be different. But where I say Luneau's going to get that is, it's unfortunate for him. He did miss an entire season due to an infected knee, and then he had an illness, and he's just almost lost 2 seasons worth of playtime. But boy, did he come back hungry this year. Saw a few games at the beginning of the year with Anaheim, and then spent most of the season with San Diego, and he lit it up down there as a defenseman. He had 52 points in 59 games. And that is stellar for taking almost 2 years off to come in and put up those types of numbers as a defenseman in the AHL. It's no cakewalk down there. It's a battle every single game down there. And he did great. In that hunger and that drive and that want is going to come out in the preseason and training camp and all that. It's all going to show up, and that experience of living that professional hockey lifestyle, whereas Ian Moore's just coming out of college. He got a point in his 3 games up in the NHL, and he got some points down in San Diego as well. But the college game is so much different than the NHL game. Not a lot of players can be Cutter Gauthier and come out of college and play an entire 82 game season in every 82 games. So especially on the defense, they're going to be getting a lot more lit up. There's a different pace to the game. The players are going to be more aware of these younger cats coming up on the opposing teams. Most of the teams that he played against, it was kind of the end of the season. You're not getting their best play, as they're either resting for the playoffs or they're already out. So it's not really a big deal. But Luneau's got that experience of being in the professional environment, the travel, the workouts, the day-to-day stuff that it takes to stay on top of your game in a professional level. And that's where I see that drive and that coming through more so for him to allow him to get into the roster next year. But it's an exciting time because there's so much defense and young defenders that can play for this club that are pretty much NHL ready. Like I said, Stain Solberg, he's out there lighting it up at the Worlds. You've got Ian Moore, who showed up and got points. He's playing great. But Tristan Luneau is this seasoned guy. He's just been touted and ready to come. And I think that drive of missing that time is going to explode for him. But this is the perfect time for these guys to put it all on the line and really try to earn that themselves a bona fide roster spot. You got a new coach coming in, a new coach who's defensive minded, a new coach who's ready to work with the younger core of players. You got the new season coming up. There's all these guys that you got to battle against. There's just that ultimate hunger right now, and seeing how the improvements have occurred with the club and kind of just picking up on that vibe of, this is a team that could be approaching the postseason or even breaking into the postseason next year. I want to be a part of that, and I want to prove myself and show this new coach that I'm ready to play, and I'm going to own it up there, and I'm going to take the experience that I have in playing hockey, and I'm going to put it into that training camp and into the preseason and really show like I deserve to be here. And this is that time to do it. I really like the way Ian Moore played. I love he's a big body. He's a smart heads up guy. I just can't get over that his time hasn't really come yet because Tristan Luneau's really been putting in the work. He's been grinding. He's been earning it. He's been doing what you got to do to earn that spot. And yeah, there's guys younger than him that have stepped up and have gotten more play time. And defense is just a very interesting thing. And it's no fault of his own that the injury and the sickness happened to him. And I think he really showed that he is so hungry to come up and play well this year. And I it's an exciting time to be just watching and like going to Great Park Ice in the preseason next year and watching the training camp, watching the rookie face off. I'm pretty sure Great Park's hosting it this year too. The Ducks are. So, and unlike the Kings where they were charging you like $250 to go, pretty sure the rookie face-off for Anaheim is either free or it's pretty inexpensive to get in and watch a bunch of young players play against each other. It's like the preseason of the preseason. And this is the moment where these guys are going to be shining. They're going to be putting it all on the line, just going against the Sharks rookies, the Kings rookies, just battling out there. And then the training camp starts. Then they're going to be battling against each other there. And then they're going to go to the preseason. They're going to be battling there. It's just, if you are hungry as a young defenseman or even a young forward, this is the time to really step up and put in the work in the offseason and then come up, show exactly who you are as a player and why you belong in the league. And the person that I just personally think is going to do that is Tristan Luneau, because of what has occurred to him and just how dominant he was in the AHL. He's showing that it's almost he can't be down at the AHL because you reach a certain level of development where you're almost hurting yourself by not stepping into the NHL level. And there's a roster issue with how many defensemen there are, but he's a guy that will take it and he's going to be up there. And granted, Ian Moore is probably going to get a couple games up in the club, but I really think that his path is to be in San Diego and develop there. And Tristan Luneau comes up to the big club and plays as many games as possible this season. But the person that's behind the defense and people that are very important, and speaking of Luneau's injury, there's someone that has been very injury prone lately, and he is the backstopper known as John Gibson. Unfortunately, he became a massive reliability for Anaheim, and we'll get into just why after this. Are you looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I have talked about it before and I'm going to keep talking about it whenever I've got something to run to, or I just played some beer league hockey. I just left the gym and I need that pick me up, just fulfilling snack where I feel like I'm getting good healthy protein and the unsaturated fats, everything that I need to recover after a good workout or playing some hockey. No shell variety, Wonderful Pistachios. Take a handful, shove them down your mouth. It is delicious. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. So the man, the myth, the legend, John Gibson, the amount of work he's been putting into this team, the amount of times that he stood strong for this team as they were going through the downfall of not being in the playoffs and kind of going through this restructure, rebuild, whatever you want to call it. He has put so much energy and effort into Anaheim as their goaltender, and he stuck around when he could have taken money elsewhere. He could have bailed, but he stayed firm. He believed in the club. He believed in the young crew coming up. And all of that work and effort, unfortunately, has led him to be a liability when it comes to injury. The amount of injury bugs that he went through this year, he's coming up in that age, goaltenders sometimes they're so good, but then once it starts to go downhill, it goes downhill. Do I want him to be going downhill? Do I want any of this? Absolutely not. But after seeing how this season went, I just think he's become more of a liability with those injuries, but not necessarily a liability enough to where he's not going to be playing a lot and helping the Ducks to their success. He performed very, very well when he was healthy. Whenever he was in the crease and was having a good game, which was pretty much every one of his games that he didn't end up getting injured or pulled out of, he was playing very well. So let's look at the numbers and you'll see for yourself there. It was not a bad performance by Gibson. It was just injury after injury that took him out of this season and just kind of left him, no pun intended, scarred. Games played for Gibson, 29. He started 28. So that means he came into one of the games. He had 11 wins, 11 losses, 2 overtime losses. He saved 739 shots out of 811. That's a save percentage of .911 or a 91% save percentage. He had 72 goals against, and his goals against average per game was 2.77. He had 0 shutouts, and his minutes played this year was 1,562 minutes. So basically, he was NHL 500 with the 11 wins and the 11 losses. We won't worry about those overtime losses. And that save percentage, a .911, is a phenomenal save percentage. That's up there in some of the top save percentages out of this season. There is not a lot of goaltenders higher than that in the league this year. And only 2.77, a little higher than 2 goals. So the Ducks were having to score 3 goals to come out away with the win on average when Gibson was in net. And something that I noticed, it seemed like whenever Dostál was in net, the team kind of locked down and played a little bit better in front. Whereas when Gibson was in net, it was like they just let him get lit up. Like, I don't know if it's just subconsciously they're like, hey, we got Gibby in net. He's good. He's got this. He's our rock back there. And they were trying to kind of protect the younger Dostál, but it just seemed like Gibby was getting lit up every time he was in the net. He got blasted a few times. He got ran into. That's what one of the injuries that took him out for a little bit, just straight up got elbowed. Like, he was getting rocked the entire season and just used and abused in the crease this year. But he stood strong. And other than when he did go out for injury, there was so many games where he just kept the Ducks in it, and he has that ability to stay calm. I don't think I've ever seen him like have emotions other than just kind of being like, what's up? Like, I'm chilling, dude. I've seen him get in scrums. Like, he's definitely, not afraid to get in there. But the man has a smile when he's doing it. He's like trying to rip someone's head off and he's smiling and laughing. And he's like, I think he's kind of a lunatic back there, but also he's like a just complete zen. So those are the guys you got to watch out for. The guys that can go through chaos and they just either have a smile or just they're calm as heck. Watch out. Those are the guys you got to look out for. But thank God he's on our side, right? And with that, popping some banners on there. Sorry about that. It was just unfortunate that the injuries kept occurring for him. I don't think they wanted to have Gibson out that much. I don't think they were expecting to have to play Dostal that much this season. But what are you going to do? You got to improvise, you got to adapt, you got to overcome. And that's what they ended up having to do this year. And with the recovery time, he had a long time at the end of that season to stay healthy. They weren't forcing him back in. And I think that's a big proponent to why he was out so much, is that the Ducks did have a lot of confidence in Dostal and the way that he was playing, that they felt like they didn't need to rush Gibson back from any of his injuries, and they're just letting him heal because, like I said, he's been such a cornerstone for this team and has just put up with the abuse back there as the goaltender through so many seasons of just seeing shot after shot and getting lit up every game and just trying to stay positive through that. Like, you got to give him all the credit for the amount of stuff that guy put up with, and he stuck around and he stayed with this team. He committed to this team. And now the Ducks get to kind of commit to his recovery and his health. So if he does come back and he's got the health and he can play like the Gibson that we know he is, I see him more being the 1B, but the goalie tandem that Dostal and Gibson, a healthy Gibson, can be for an entire healthy season, and with the experience of these defensemen coming up, the experience of the forwards, the scoring prowess that hopefully Pat Verbeek goes and picks up in the free agency, it's going to be dangerous for anyone playing against Anaheim. And it was Gibson and Dostal that kept the Ducks in the race basically the entire season. The only reason, for the most part, that Anaheim had the 20-point increase this year was because of Dostal and Gibson. The back end was rock solid for the type of leakage that the team was actually having, and they got him those points. So Gibson comes back healthy. I see him being more of the 1B than the 1A like he's been. But look at the type of mentors he's had. He had Freddie Anderson. He's had Ryan Miller. He's had great goaltenders that helped guide him in his career. And now he gets to pay it forward and be that solid guy for Lukáš Dostál and just continue to mentor him. And this is a guy you need in the locker room. Like I've said, his vibe is so awesome. He's so chill. He's so calm. He gets along with the young guys. He gets along with the vets. He's just an absolute staple of this team. So even if he's not playing that much, or he's not starting, or he's not doing a whole lot, having him in the locker room and having him on that bench is going to be so important for the Ducks next season. And I'm excited to see how things go, and I really hope that he does get healthy and that he can play a longer season next year, and that the injury bugs have left him and that was all we had to deal with. But I just don't see that happening with how frequent it's been in the last few seasons, and it's hard to have that much positivity. But I do look forward to seeing his play next season. And the man that's going to be taking over the net and has officially become the franchise goalie is Lukáš Dostál, and we'll get into everything about him next. Now to talk about the absolute MVP of the Anaheim Ducks this season. This guy is exactly why the Ducks had success. He not only stepped in as the young goaltender and had a great season, but he ended up having to become the main goaltender probably earlier than expected. And he showed up. He performed so well. Yes, we're still waiting to find out because he is a restricted free agent. We got to wait to see what Pat Verbeek tries to sign him to. It sounds like he does like to do bridge deals for the restricted free agents, but he's already had one of those. And if he does sign another restricted free agency or another bridge deal, that will take him to becoming a UFA, unrestricted free agent, where he could literally go anywhere, any team, any place, no having to buy out or anything like that. Like if he wants to go shop around, he can shop around. So I really don't see the Anaheim Ducks doing that. And I really hope that Pat Verbeek sees how important Lukáš Dostál is to this team, and he gives him a more term type contract and locks him up as the official franchise goalie for the Anaheim Ducks. He came into the season with so much confidence after the Worlds last year. He led Czechia to gold and backstopped them, had some phenomenal play. He was doing so well out there. Comes into the season just buzzing and then ends up having to take the net. So let's look at the numbers of just how this season went for him and how things are going to improve in the future. Games played for Lukáš, 54. He had 49 starts, so he definitely had to come into a few of those games with Gibson getting injured, and I don't think he ever bumped out Huso, but there were a couple games where he had to come in and take over, but started 49 games. He had 23 wins, 23 losses, 7 overtime losses. His shots against, well, let's look at his saves. He had 1,467 saves out of 1,625 shots. That's a save percentage of .903. He got completely lit up, but he also saved a ton. He had 158 goals against. His goals against average was a 3.10, and he had one shutout, and his minutes this year were 3,058. So he was one of the top goaltenders the entire season. He was up there in the top 10. He teetered kind of around 8th in the league. There was a most of the season, he was at about a 910, 911 save percentage. He kept kind of teetering back and forth when him and Gibson were sharing the net. But after Gibson kind of had that longer injury and he started to see a lot more games more frequently, it did go down. And unfortunately, the Ducks in front of him were letting him get lit up. And he played as amazing as he could with how many shots he was seeing. It was scary sometimes how many shots this kid saw. Granted, he did set a record last season with, I think it was like 62 or 65 something shots that he had. It was something crazy that he saw last season. But this year it was no cakewalk for him at all this season. There were so many games that he saw a ton of shots. But looking at that confidence at the beginning of the year, like I said, he came in after that world gold with Czechia, and he comes in, he starts to playing really well, sharing the net with Gibson. But with that injury, I just think he saw a lot more net time than was expected, but he stood up to the task. Looking at how much he got lit up, there were 7 games where he saw 40 or more shots, the most being 49 this season. 7 games where they were 40 or more. That is insane. And then if you want to look at, because the average NHL game has about, we'll say 25-ish shots per side, and that's still a pretty that's a lot of shots coming through, not a lot of shots being blocked or missed or whatnot. So about 25 is a good average. There were 30 games this season, 30 out of 54, that he saw 30 or more shots. 30 out of 54. That is unacceptable, Anaheim. You need to protect this young man. He is a legend. He's going to take you to the promised land. You need to protect him. You already let Gibson take the fire. Now you got to protect Dostál. Goodness gracious. But he was one of the few goaltenders that has not been scored on by Alex Ovechkin. So you can add that to his record book there. We'll see how things go next season, because it definitely sounds like Ovechkin will be coming back, but at least he wasn't part of the record-breaking goal scoring for Ovi. And something that I really, really, really love about Dostál is the level of charm and energy and this glow that he brings to the team, not only to the other players, but to the fans. The way that he interacts with the fans and with the media, he's just got this bright smile on his face. He's just like this happy-go-lucky kid, and he's getting along. He's part of this young core of players that are all developing together. And it's almost like watching, like your kids hockey team from when they're like 10 years old, developing all together, going up into high school, and watching them all just continue to develop, grow those friendships. And that's like what this little group of players is. And they all get along. Like it's the vibes in the locker room are outstanding from what I've been hearing in Anaheim. Yes, there wasn't great vibes when it came to the coach, and there's been interviews with Greg Cronin where he says that wasn't the case and that it was a bunch of BS and that's lies. But from the people that broke the news saying that things were not good in the locker room, they said, well, then your players are lying, because it came from, the friend of the player or whatever, whoever the source was. It escaped that the locker room was not good with Coach Cronin. But now, looking at how the reaction's been from players in regards to Quenneville being hired, it sounds like the positivity of what the players have and the core community that they have built. Now they're getting this coach that, controversy aside, is a positive person and someone that makes it fun to come to the locker room. And combining that together, it's going to be absolutely great for this team. And Lukáš Dostál is going to be the backbone. He is now the official franchise goaltender. I'm calling it right now. He is the 1A for this team. And if we can get the tandem of Gibson and Dostál and split the games pretty evenly, it's only going to help the team that much more. But the way that he plays for this team, the way he is able to stay calm, the insane saves that he makes, his ability to his lateral movements, he can even play the puck really well if he has to. He has great vision. He's just everything that the Ducks need, and he stepped into those shoes. He was asked to do more than he was expected this season, and he stood to the task, and he helped Anaheim take a 20-point leap in the standings. That did not happen just because of the coach. That was the goaltending. Look at that, 30 games where he saw 30 or more shots. Tell me that the coach helped this team get a 20-point jump in the stands. No, your goaltenders got you the 20-point jump, and it was mostly Lukáš Dostál. And now he's going to get this big contract. It's going to give him the confidence that he's wanted, that he's here, and he's a staple of the team. And it's just going to elevate from there. He's not playing in Worlds this year because of this whole contract dispute. Well, it's not really a dispute, but the negotiations of the contract. So just because they didn't want to risk him getting injured or anything happening, so he can stay healthy, get the big contract, and come into the preseason ready to rock. And it's the vibes are vibing out here. Like I'm kind of like ready for preseason now. This postseason, what is it? It's not even June yet. Like, my goodness, I'm gonna have this better go fast this summer, because I am so ready for this next season to kick off. Things are going to be a buzz out here in Anaheim, and I'm so looking forward to it. But there's so much more off-season coverage to talk about, and so many things that need to happen, from the draft to free agency to the signing of Dostal and McTavish and all these other things that could happen in the offseason. So we'll keep covering it. We'll keep talking about it. Pretty much have wrapped up the player grades. There's a few players that I didn't really get into, either because they got traded or they really only played a couple of games. So I didn't really feel fair to give them a grade off of only a couple showings on the club. But if there's, I've said before, if there's any questions or any topics that you want to talk about, I'm thinking about doing a Monday mailbag episode pretty much going on forward. So over the weekend, if you think of any ideas or any news breaks on Friday that you want to talk about, send it my way. Go to Car Talk Sports. So KJERTALKSSPORTS.com. There's going to be a little form you can fill out. It says connect with Locked On Ducks. Fill it out, put your questions, put your topics that you want to talk about. And that just helps us have information that you want to hear and keeps you tuning in. And, you know, I want you to guys interact. Like I want to be, we're all fans here. This is, as weird as it is, NHL people, we like consider the team like our team, as if we're the owners or we're the GM. Like, and I love the passion that Ducks fans have. So please share with me so I can share with you, and we'll just keep buzzing. We're gonna stay locked on all off season. So thank you for making Locked On Anaheim Ducks your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. You got your local analysis on a national scale. Find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And you can find this on YouTube. Make sure you go like and subscribe. And remember, I'm Kyle Kjer. Be good out there.